You're going to go out there, drink your drink, but do it quickly. You see, this is a moral test of oneself because loyalty is very important. You're going to go, say goodbye, go home, film a Tarantino ranking, and that's all you're going to do. Hello everyone, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood has just arrived in cinemas, and on that note, I thought it was time to rank my favorite Quentin Tarantino films. Quentin Tarantino is a masterclass filmmaker. He was among one of the many independent filmmakers that started the independent film craze of the early to mid-90s. I love his work. I was familiar with Tarantino at a young age, but I didn't get into his films until Kill Bill. So at age 14, I saw Pulp Fiction and began to explore his films. They not only amazed me as an audience member, but they inspired me as a filmmaker. Now, this is going to be my personal ranking of my favorites. I wanted to share with you and celebrate his filmography. Again, this is going to differ from your ranking and opinions, so I don't want any hateful comments, but feel free to leave your ranking of your favorite Quentin Tarantino films down in the comments below. Let me know your favorite films from Tarantino. This will not include films that he has written, such as Natural Born Killers, From Dusk Till Dawn, or True Romance. This will also not include the short film segment of the film Four Rooms. This will include all the films he has written and directed. Starting with my least favorite at number 10 is The Hateful Eight. The Hateful Eight is actually quite a great film. I love how it's shot on film. And it has the vibe of John Carpenter's The Thing. We even have some familiar music from Ennio Morricone. Kurt Russell's in this, Walter Goggins, Samuel L. Jackson. Man, I love the cast of this film. The cast of this film is phenomenal. We even have familiar faces such as Michael Madsen and Tim Roth. And I love how it's in a secluded location. This is a very different type of Western. This is all in the winter. And it's a very long film, as a matter of fact. To me, it's not my favorite out of Quentin Tarantino's films, but I do love it for its small, closed nature of it. He kind of goes back to his roots of like Reservoir Dogs. And again, with The Thing, it's in one location. Who can you trust? And I love seeing these group of strangers in this one location, not being able to trust one another, people being betrayed by one another. And it really leaves you on the edge of your seat in this film. There's also some messed up parts with Samuel L. Jackson. Yeah, if you know any racists, go ahead and show them the scene with Bruce Dern's son and Samuel L. Jackson. That is just crazy. Sam Jackson. It's one of the few actors that can get away with that, and Tarantino writing that film as well. The scene with Kurt Russell vomiting blood shocked me when I first saw it. And I love how it's Walter Goggins and Samuel L. Jackson left at the end. Channing Tatum and his posse there being at that location the whole time. And the script to this was leaked, so they changed the ending. It probably would have had more of a logical ending of Walter Goggins betraying Sam Jackson's character, but I love them teaming up against the posse of bad guys. It's a very unusual shakeup, and it really changes things with this formula. Overall, this is a beautiful film. The cinematography is excellent. The story, the dialogue, the characters are very great, but something about it feels very slow to me, and it's not the most exciting Quentin Tarantino film. It's strange. His later films have gotten more stylish. They look beautiful, but that style has kind of overshadowed substance. You know, Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, they're gritty films, but there's a lot of substance with the story and characters that I feel stronger than some of his later works. But Hateful Eight is just my least favorite. Above that at number 9 is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. This is one film that I was highly looking forward to. It's a good film. That's the thing, Tarantino, even if it's one of his weaker films, is still a pretty damn good film compared to other stuff you see. and he's never going to reach the gold standard that was Jackie Brown, Reservoir Dogs, and Pulp Fiction. But I like this. In a way, it's kind of similar to Pulp Fiction with different groups of characters in this one place. It's in Hollywood of 1969. I love Leo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt's dynamic here. You know, actor stunt double. Leo DiCaprio really conveys a struggling actor very well. Overall, there isn't like a main story in this film. It's really more of like a day in the life of these characters. I love Margot Robbie as Shannon Tate. She is perfect. And it's tragic what happened in real life. We do get the Manson family here. But it's a spin on history, much in the way of Inglorious Basterds. So they take a spin on something real, and this is kind of more of a fairy tale version of Hollywood. But I love it because it's like so self-indulgent and just shows the kind of golden age of Hollywood. I love seeing Bruce Lee. I don't know if Brad Pitt's character could have fought Bruce Lee like that. I think it's a little BS, but I love Bruce Lee in this. I love them showing Steve McQueen. Going back to that era, the fake films was spectacular with spaghetti westerns, that Nazi film. This film had a lot of good moments and a lot of comedy, but it was very slow. I would say The Hateful Eight is a better made film than Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but I enjoyed Once Upon a Time in Hollywood a little bit more, and mainly because of Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt is my favorite character in this movie. He has a lot of the best scenes, and also we have Timothy Olyphant, Luke Perry in his last role, Bruce Dern in a quick cameo. There's a lot of actors in this. Kurt Russell, Al Pacino is fantastic. It's a very interesting film, and it all goes to that night when Shannon Tate was murdered in the Manson family, but it puts another spin on it. And the second act is what really slows this film down. It just feels like it's dragging. And I never felt that way with the Tarantino film, really. You know, even Hateful Eight was slow, but it felt like it had a purpose. This was just like, I feel like you could have cut 30 minutes off, and it still would have been just about the same film. But Tarantino does bring this love letter to the past of Hollywood in 1969, and I love it for that. The first act is really good. The second act's slow, but the third act, man, when it gets to that action with the Manson family, I love the brutality of it. Brad Pitt's great with his dog being high on acid, and then Leonardo DiCaprio flamethrowing that lady in the pool. That was like the best freaking moment. I also like it earlier where he's just like, "Die, you Nazi bastards," and it shows that film. I also like how this make fun of the spaghetti westerns and like the Western TV shows, you know, Leonardo DiCaprio being cast as a bad guy. It took history and kind of romanticized it. It brought a fairy tale for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's a good film, but it's not among one of my favorite films from Tarantino. Above that at number 8 is Death Proof. This is part of the double feature of Grindhouse that had Planet Terror by Robert Rodriguez and Death Proof by Quentin Tarantino. Death Proof I thought was a weaker film out of the two, and it's weird because it's one of those films that I didn't quite enjoy at all. It was my least favorite Quentin Tarantino film. After Kill Bill Volume 2 came out, I was excited. This film let me down, but you know what? This film has aged like a fine wine. And the car chases are spectacular. They're practical. He pays homage to past films with this film. And Kurt Russell is a maniac. This is by far Kurt Russell's best role in a Tarantino film. I love it. I love how they even do the whole psych out of like you seeing these group of women, and then they end up going to this bar, run into Kurt Russell's character, and you think it's going to focus on them. No, they're like killed in like a brutal way. That was so nuts. And that part with Rose McGowan's cameo, because she was in Planet Terror, I just love that, where it's just like, you know, this is a death-proof car, and it's a stunt car. It's such a genius premise, but he's just like, to get the full effect of this car, you really should be sitting where I'm at. And Kurt Russell just plays chicken and just like flips a car over, kills her, and he's fine because the car is death-proof. Crazy shit, man. This is like pure grindhouse cinema. And I love that. I love it being shot near Austin, Texas, too. I love seeing the second group of women, and then we get to see Kurt Russell kind of like profile them and follow them. So he's pretty much a predator. But what makes this film brilliant is the third act. And, you know, you have the memorable scenes there with Kurt Russell. You have the bar. You have that famous lap dance scene. But what makes this is when the predator becomes the prey. At the end, you have a real-life stunt woman in the role. I love the stuff there. The group of women chasing Kurt Russell's character. And you have this brilliant, practical, real-time car chase that is like on the level of Mad Max and some other classic 70s films. I love the ending to this movie. It's just a fucking awesome ending for Death Proof. And them beating the shit out of Kurt Russell at the end. Such a thrill ride. It is slow in parts. It is different than other Tarantino films, but it has a payoff and it's a nice build-up that turns to an exciting third act. Death Proof is definitely one of the most underrated Tarantino films. Above that at number 7 for me is Kill Bill Volume 1. I love Kill Bill Volume 1. Kill Bill could be counted as one film really, but they're so different in tone that I'm going to count it as two. Volume 1, this is a film that got me into Quentin Tarantino as a filmmaker. I freaking love this film, this revenge tale. We get to see the bride, played by Uma Thurman. She's basically murdered at the beginning. She survives, but such a brutal, heartless opening. And David Carradine's not seen much as Bill. We just hear him in voiceover and see his hands at the end, but his presence is still felt. I love the whole part of her waking up. I hated that scene with Buck of like, my name's Buck and I'm here to fuck. I hated that. But that bastard got what he deserved, man. I love seeing Uma Thurman in the yellow jumpsuit that Bruce Lee had in the Game of Death. You know, that opening fight, it's out of order. I love seeing Vernita Green, played by Vivica A. Fox. Such a crazy sequence. The daughter there. Maybe some seeds for Kill Bill Volume 3 if they have a follow-up. I love Oranishi, the boardroom meeting. Her origin, how it goes to like a Japanese anime, which is so cool. Music by the RZA in this is fantastic. You have Battle for Humanity. The whole fight with the Crazy 88. So crazy, gory, to the point where it becomes funny and hysterical. Tarantino has a way of violence where you just enjoy it. It's a damn good time at the movies. I love the fight with Go-Go. And ultimately, it's a tease to the second volume, the other half of the story. I also like seeing Hattori Hanzo, you know, as an actor who played Hattori Hanzo. And I love seeing that sword, the kung fu vibe of this. This is just an awesome, kick-ass film and the first part of a great revenge tale and tragedy from Quentin Tarantino. Above that at number 6 is Inglorious Basterds. This movie was amazing. After the disappointment that was kind of Death Proof, he comes back with a vengeance on a script that he was working on for a while. Inglorious Basterds is a fantastic film. You have Brad Pitt, you have Eli Roth, Diane Kruger. Michael Fassbender has a brief role, but who makes this film is Christoph Waltz as the villain. That opening is totally like something from Once Upon a Time in the West. You even have Ennio Morricone have music to this, compose music. I love the plot of this. I love the whole revenge scheme with the female character we have here at the theater and her family being murdered and her basically plotting this revenge while we have this other story of the Inglorious Basterds killing Nazis. I love Brad Pitt's character here. I love that part of the bar. Such a crazy, like, violent double-cross scene. And ultimately, it's a ticking clock to that theater showdown. Again, like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, it takes embellishments with history. What can I say? I love seeing Hitler die and Nazis burn. Such a beautiful, crazy ending. All the cylinders were working with this mechanism of Inglorious Basterds, and this is Quentin Tarantino at his finest here. Not only with story, characters, but with cinematography and the way the editing is. This is also the last time we had Sally Minke edit one of his films. She sadly passed away, so I really feel a great void with the editing of his movies. This is the last time we had her as an editor, and she does a fantastic job. Crazy ending with Brad Pitt and his knife, but what can I say? This has violence, this has good plot, this has great dialogue, funny moments, action. This has everything you want to see from a Quentin Tarantino film. And it even has Mike Myers almost unrecognizable in a role. Yeah, Inglorious Basterds is among one of his best films, and I just love it. Above that at number 5 for me is Django Unchained. Django! I love Django Unchained. This is a Western. It's not a spaghetti Western, but you also have Franco Nero, who played the original Django cameo, you know, the D silent. I love this movie. Leo DiCaprio is evil as Calvin Candy, but even more sinister is Samuel L. Jackson as his servant. God damn, he's so bad. But I love Brumhilda in this. Kerry Washington plays her. How Django is wronged, goes from being a slave to being freed and working with this bounty hunter. You know, Charles Schultz, played by Christoph Waltz. Christoph Waltz is a badass, and so is Jamie Foxx. Don Johnson, his brief cameo, there's some funny moments there, but I love how he tortures these plantation owners and people who basically own slaves. You know, he becomes almost like a vigilante, and I love that. And I love him trying to get his wife back and also kind of like infiltrating Candyland. He has to basically kind of become or act like something he's not. And there's a risk of being discovered, and when that happens, that confrontation was so intense. You know, Leo DiCaprio was so much of a method actor that he actually broke the glass there, cut his hand, and that's a real reaction from Kerry Washington. So crazy. I love this film. Walter Goggins is crazy in a cameo, and then Sam Jackson there, man. I wasn't expecting Christoph Waltz to get killed off, but I just love that part where she's like, did you know that Alexander Dumas was black? And then, like, Calvin Candy gets shot, and Sam Jackson's like, Master, Master, he's all crying. I was just like, oh my God. But I love that part with John Legend's, that has a Vigilante song. I love that with the horse. Such a fantastic moment. Quentin Tarantino's cameo, get him blowing up. But it has an action-packed ending. I love the whole kneecapping part with Django and him basically getting his wife back and succeeding over the villains at the end. This is just an awesome revenge Western film. Has all the type of crazy, zany style from other Tarantino films and is really a Western that is something of its own. This is just a great film. Above that at number 4, for me, is Jackie Brown. Jackie Brown, in my honest opinion, is the most underrated Quentin Tarantino film. It's based on a novel by Elmore Leonard, and I have to say, I love how he switched Jackie Brown being Anglo to being African American. I love that. Pam Grier, he goes to like the blaxploitation films of the 70s, gives it that vibe, has an all-star cast. Samuel L. Jackson just rocks as a villain. That whole scene with Chris Tucker and Strawberry Love Letter 23 by the Brothers Johnson is great. Delphonics on this soundtrack, man. Street Life, Across 110th Street from the film Across from 110th Street, I love it. And then we have Robert Forster in a role, Michael Keaton, and then you have Robert De Niro with Bridget Fonda. I love how this has different characters that interconnect. You know, the whole plot of Michael Keaton being with the police, using Jackie Brown as an informant to go after Samuel L. Jackson, and then the danger she runs there, along with money being earned. That whole scene with the parking lot with Robert De Niro and Bridget Fonda was just unexpected, total Tarantino, but I love how it gets the different elements and all these characters, and we get to see their perspective. That part at the shopping mall is masterclass filmmaking. And in many ways, this is kind of a sad romance story with Robert Forster and Pam Grier. This is a mature Quentin Tarantino film, and for a third film, this is just excellent. I mean, his first 3 films are phenomenal, and Jackie Brown's just one of my favorite Tarantino films that I think needs more love. It's vastly, vastly underrated. I love this movie, all the way to that ending with Jackie Brown leaving. You know, Pam Grier's acting is just so superb in that moment. This film just has it all, great plot, and if you're not a Tarantino fan, if you have never seen a Tarantino film, don't like the violence, this is probably the most approachable film you could see from Quentin Tarantino. And if you're not a Tarantino fan, you're going to love it. Above that at number 3 is Reservoir Dogs. This is a film that started it all. I love Reservoir Dogs. You know, it's a gritty looking film, 1992, but what I love is that it has a great plot, great characters, dialogue, the story structure, and the majority of the film takes place in one location, that little warehouse. You don't know much, you know. I love Tim Roth as Mr. Orange. You have Harvey Keitel in this, Michael Madsen. You have Steve Buscemi, he's Mr. Pink. He's funny in this. Quentin Tarantino even plays Mr. Brown. And I love the cast of this. You also have Chris Penn in a wonderful role. And yeah, Michael Madsen's supposedly Victor Vega, who may be the brother. He's a brother of Vincent Vega from Pulp Fiction. So I love how these are all connected. I'd also say Ramblers, let's get rambling, like Seth Gecko from Dusk Till Dawn. So maybe with the suit attire, they're all part of the criminal syndicate, the same syndicate, I don't know. But I love Tim Roth as an undercover cop, him getting injured, you learning more about the characters. He totally set this up like a novel where it goes back and forth. It's non-linear, and Tarantino does his best work when it's non-linear. You learn about the characters. Oh, let's not forget the stuck in the middle with you scene with Michael Madsen. Oh my God, that torture scene was so intense but so iconic, such a memorable scene. Oh man, the bank heist when they actually get to show what went down with each character was intense, and then that ending was just so insane of everybody just double-crossing each other. This is a fantastic film and start to Quentin Tarantino. He made a small film before this, but this is a film that put him on the map, went to Sundance. I love this all the way to the end. It has you going from beginning to end, goes by very fast, and Quentin Tarantino really shows you that he's a masterclass filmmaker with his debut here. I love this film. Even to the opening diner scene of just dialogue, them talking about Madonna, and then like, do you tip people at McDonald's? The way Tarantino writes dialogue is so naturalistic, so realistic. I love that along with the soundtrack, man. This is just great. Reservoir Dogs is a film that started it all, and it's a film that should be remembered as one of Tarantino's best. Above that at number 2 is Pulp Fiction. Pulp Fiction is an amazing film. I actually think this might be Tarantino's best film. I love the nonlinear storytelling. John Travolta in his comeback, you have him as Vincent Vega. Him and Sam Jackson as Jules are perfect. Ving Rhames as Marcellus Wallace. You have Bruce Willis as Butch. Uma Thurman as Mia Wallace. You have that iconic Jackrabbit Slims dance. Man, I love this movie. That whole opening. Look at the big name on Brad instead of Brett. But a Big Kahuna Burger. Man, this has style, but the soundtrack is just amazing. You know what they call a quarter pounder with cheese in Amsterdam? They call it a Royale with cheese. And I love it where he's just like, what do they call a Whopper? And he's just like, I don't know, I didn't go to Burger King. That whole scene with Girl, You'll Be a Woman Soon is iconic. The overdose, you had that little adrenaline shot was just nuts. Everybody having a bad day, and there's some themes of forgiveness and like religion in this film as well. I love it, the Bonnie situation, you know, Harvey Keitel as the wolf, and that restaurant scene, Tim Roth there and Amanda Plummer, you know. Everybody be cool, this is robbery. I love that. This film just has everything with a great soundtrack, characters. Man, I just love Pulp Fiction, and I don't know if it would work if it was in linear order. It works better when it's non-linear, you know. I just love it. Christopher Walken's cameo with the gold watch and the whole part. I hate that part with the gimp, man, but I just love him when he shotguns him. He's like, I'm going to go medieval on their ass. And then Ving Rhames and them are there, and Bruce Willis just like tells his girlfriend and wife, he's just like, it's a chopper, baby. Whose chopper is this? It's like, Zed. It's like, who's Zed? It's like, Zed's dead. Zed's dead. I love that. Man, this is such a cool film. Pulp Fiction is an epitome of cool, but it's just a superb film. This is a masterpiece. It's no wonder this film won the Palme d'Or. Pulp Fiction is Quentin Tarantino's best film and among one of my personal favorites, man. But this is my favorites list, so at number 1 is Kill Bill Volume 2. This is my most favorite Quentin Tarantino film. I know some people are going to disagree, but this came at a good time in my life personally. My father, mother, and I saw this on VHS. I love Kill Bill 1. We're in the process of moving. And it was the night before I found out my father, he was feeling sick, and he ended up having cancer. He luckily, survived, pushed through it, but I remember this film getting me through a dark time. And this is a great Tarantino film with that opening, you know, in black and white, and it has Silhouette of Doom from Navajo Joe. And we actually get to see Bill. And what makes this film is not only a great revenge story, the second half to the first part of Kill Bill, but it's a love story, a tragedy. We get to learn more about why Bill did what he did, and we get to learn what the bride meant to him. And this really, if the first Kill Bill had kung fu elements, this is a spaghetti western, and I love it from beginning to end. This is a film that I actually watched back to back when I watched it on VHS. We rented it. They ran it at the DVD, so we went back to VHS. Like the last VHS I rented in 2004. Man. You have Michael Parks again as Estevan. He played Earl McGraw in the first Kill Bill. Same guy from Dusk Till Dawn. I love Bud. Michael Madsen really gets an upper hand against the bride, Beatrix Kiddo. I also love the flashbacks with Pal May. He's so great. He's crazy with his beard. And then that whole revelation of Elle killing Pal May, you know, that was great. And then, oh my God, speaking of foot shots, that was gross when freaking bride just gouged Elle's eye out and crushed it. That was some cold-blooded shit, man. But what I love about this is that reveal at the end that her daughter's alive. We heard that in Kill Bill Volume 1. And if you watch the whole bloody affair, they don't have that scene. But it's still a surprise. And it's sad. Bill was raising her to be an assassin. So there's a surprise for her. And that whole final act in Kill Bill 2 is just so tragic. Bill, I think, knew that the bride was going to feel bad about killing him, which is why he had the truth serum and it didn't work until the next morning. That whole 5-point exploding heart technique was great. The backstory, that scene is just such a great scene. And then her getting her life and daughter back. You know, she has a happy ending. She killed Bill. And it's just the end to an epic revenge tale. 1 and 2 are so great. It's weird watching them together. I watch them together, but they're really two different films. But tonally, they're two different films, but they do work. But I just love Kill Bill Volume 2. It's my favorite Tarantino film. I always watch it over and over again. And I was living in South Texas at the time when I saw that, so it had that kind of Western Texas vibe to it. This movie was just awesome, and it's my personal favorite Tarantino film. Anyway, that does it for my favorite Quentin Tarantino films. I wanted to share those with you since Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is out. Again, feel free in the comments below. Let me know your favorite Quentin Tarantino films, from your least favorite to most favorite. Share, discuss what you love about them down in the comments below. I can't wait to read your comments. Again, follow me on the Stardust app at Fred Film Fanatic. And like these other videos, and subscribe for more videos. Till next time, everyone, be cool.